Mara, it's good to meet nice people, but you have to be careful. Don't let your love for money make you rush into things. Take your time to know him first. Mara didn't say anything. She sat quietly, thinking about Israel. She liked him a lot. She hoped he would call her soon. She didn't want to wait too long. In a big city in Nigeria, where cars moved everywhere and people talked loudly on the streets, lived a young woman named Mara. Mara was very beautiful. Her skin was smooth, and her smile was bright like the morning sun. Everywhere she went, people looked at her. She was always happy, and her laughter made everyone around her feel good. People liked her because she was friendly and cheerful. But Mara had something she believed in strongly. She thought having a lot of money was the only way to live a good life. She did not want to be poor. Mara's parents were not rich. They worked very hard to take care of her and her brothers and sisters. She watched them struggle, and it made her sad. Mara decided that when she grew up, she would not live like that. She wanted to have money so much so that she could live a comfortable life, eat good food, and not worry about anything. Because of this, Mara didn't like staying in relationships with boys who had no money. She always reminded herself, I deserve to live a rich life. Even though Mara liked money, she was not lazy. She worked in a small office as a receptionist. Her job was simple. She welcomed visitors with a big smile, answered phone calls, and kept the office neat and tidy. The job did not pay her much money, but it made her feel proud because she was working to take care of herself. She believed that starting small was okay because one day she would have a better life. Mara lived in a small house with her best friend, Mercy. Mercy was also a young woman, but she was very hardworking. Mercy ran a small business where she sold beautiful clothes, nice shoes, and handbags. Every day, Mercy woke up early and went to the market to buy things. Then she sold them to her customers. Mercy was always busy, but she never got tired. She worked very hard because she wanted her business to grow. The house where Mara and Mercy lived was small but very neat. It had a sitting room with soft chairs and colorful pillows. When they came home after a long day, they sat in the sitting room, rested, and talked about their dreams. Mara dreamed of owning a big shop where she would sell clothes and shoes. Mercy wanted her business to be so big that everyone in the city would know her. Even though Mara and Mercy had different jobs, they always helped each other. Sometimes, when Mercy was very busy, Mara would help her pack clothes for her customers. And when Mara had problems at work, Mercy gave her advice and cheered her up. Their friendship was very strong because they loved and respected each other. Living in the city was not easy for them. Things were expensive, and they had to be careful with how they spent their money. Sometimes, unexpected problems came up, and they needed extra money to solve them. But Mara and Mercy never gave up. Mercy was smart and knew how to manage her money, while Mara was hopeful and always believed that things would get better. There were times when Mara wanted to do bad things just to get money quickly, but Mercy always reminded her to be patient and work hard. Mercy showed Mara that success comes when you do the right things. Seeing how Mercy worked hard without cheating anyone made Mara respect her even more. One day, something exciting happened to Mara. A woman who owned a big shop, visited the office where Mara worked. The woman liked Mara's style and the way she dressed. She asked Mara if she would like to work in her shop as a fashion assistant. Mara was very happy and said yes. Now, she worked in the office during the day and helped the woman in the shop in the evening. Mara loved her new job because it was like a small step towards her dream of owning her own shop. While Mara was happy with her new job, Mercy faced some problems. Another businesswoman wanted to take Mercy's customers by selling her things at a cheaper price. This made Mercy worried, but she did not give up. Instead, she thought of new ways to make her business better. She started giving special gifts to her customers and treated them very well. Because of this, her customers stayed with her and her business grew even more. After many months of hard work, Mercy saved enough money to rent a small shop for her business. She was even very happy, and so was Mara. They celebrated together because it was a big step for Mercy. Mara continued working hard in the shop where she helped style customers. She also started drawing designs for clothes, dreaming of the day when she would have her own shop and sell clothes she designed. Even though they were doing well, Mara and Mercy knew that their journey was just starting. They had more things to achieve, but no matter what happened, they stayed close and supported each other. They celebrated their small wins and helped each other when things were tough. Together, they believed they could achieve anything. It was a bright sunny morning. Mara woke up feeling happy. She decided to go to the supermarket near her house to buy some food and other things she needed. She dressed in her favorite yellow dress, picked up her shopping list, and stepped outside. The air felt warm, and Mara smiled as she walked to the supermarket. The supermarket was full of people. Some were pushing shopping carts, others were picking things from the shelves, and a few were talking and laughing. Mara liked places like this. She enjoyed seeing people and being part of the busy city life. She started picking the things she needed: rice, milk, bread, fruits, and vegetables. She carefully checked her list as she walked around the supermarket. After a while, she noticed a man standing a few steps away from her. He was tall, with shiny shoes and clothes that looked very expensive. He had a bright smile, but Mara didn't pay much attention to him. She continued shopping and focusing on getting everything she needed. When Mara finished picking her items, she went to the counter to pay. She placed all her things on the counter and reached into her bag to get her wallet. But her wallet was not there. Mara searched her bag again and again, but she still couldn't find it. She felt very embarrassed. "I'm so sorry," Mara said softly to the cashier. "I forgot my wallet at home. I don't have any money with me." The cashier looked at her, unsure of what to do. Just then, the tall man she saw earlier stepped forward. He smiled kindly and said, "Don't worry, I'll pay for her." Mara looked at him, surprised. She didn't know what to say. She didn't like taking things from people she didn't know. But the man seemed kind. After thinking for a moment, she nodded and said, "Thank you very much." The man paid for Mara's groceries and the cashier packed her things. Mara picked up her bags, feeling both happy and shy at the same time. As she walked towards the door, the man followed her. "My name is Israel," the man said, smiling. "What's your name?" "I'm Mara," she replied, still feeling a little shy. They started talking as they walked out of the supermarket. Israel was very friendly. He asked Mara for her phone number. Mara was not sure if she should give to him. She didn't like giving her number to people she just met, but something about Israel made her feel safe. After thinking for a moment, she decided to give the number to him. When they reached the gate of the supermarket, Israel offered to drive Mara home. "Let me give you a ride home," he he said. At first, Mara said no. She thought it might be too early to accept a ride from someone she just met. But Israel smiled and said, please, it's the least I can do after paying for your groceries. Mara thought for a moment and then agreed. She didn't want to walk home with heavy bags. She got into Israel's shiny black car and they drove off. The car was very clean and smelled nice. Mara sat quietly, looking out of the window. She could see trees, people, and houses as they passed by. Israel glanced at her now and then, and Mara noticed it. She smiled quietly to herself. She liked the way Israel looked at her. When they got close to her house, Mara pointed at her gate. That's my house, she said. Israel stopped the car in front of the gate. Thank you for the ride, Mara said with a smile as she opened the car door. You're welcome, Israel replied. I hope we can meet again soon. Sure, Mara said happily. She stepped out of the car with her bags and walked into her house. Inside the house, Mercy was sitting in the living room. She was folding clothes for her business. Mara dropped her bags on the floor and sat down beside her friend. She couldn't wait to tell Mercy what had happened. Guess what? Mara said excitedly. I met someone today. Mercy stopped folding clothes and looked at Mara. Who did you meet? She asked curiously. Mara told Mercy everything. The man at the supermarket, how he paid for her groceries, the ride in his car, and how rich he looked. She even talked about how shiny his car was and how kind he seemed. Mercy listened carefully. When Mara finished talking, Mercy smiled and said, Mara, it's good to meet nice people, but you have to be careful. Don't let your love for money make you rush into things. Take your time to know him first. Mara didn't say anything. She sat quietly, thinking about Israel. She liked him a lot. She hoped he would call her soon. She didn't want to wait too long. That night, Mara couldn't stop thinking about Israel. She wondered what he was doing and if he was thinking about her too. She smiled to herself, feeling happy. Even though Mercy told her to be careful, Mara believed this could be the start of something exciting. She ignored Mercy's advice and waited eagerly for her phone to ring. Many weeks went by, and Mara almost forgot about Israel. When she first met him, she was very happy. She kept her phone close, hoping he would call her. Every time her phone rang, she quickly picked it up, thinking it was Israel. But days passed, and there was no call from him. Slowly, Mara started to lose hope. She told herself, maybe he doesn't like me. Mara tried to stop thinking about Israel. She went back to her normal life. She went to work every day and spent time with her best friend, Mercy. Even though many men came to talk to her and wanted to be her friend, Mara didn't pay much attention to them. She watched how they dressed, what cars they drove, and the kind of things they said. If a man didn't look rich or special, Mara didn't care. Life became normal again for Mara. She helped Mercy with her business, talked to her friends, and stayed busy. But deep in her heart, she sometimes thought about Israel. She wondered, why didn't he call me? Did I do something wrong? Far away in the same city, Israel had not forgotten Mara. He thought about her from time to time. He remembered how pretty and cheerful she was. But Israel was already with someone else, his fiancée, the woman he planned to marry. His fiancée had been staying with him for a whole month, so he was busy spending time with her. He didn't want any distractions, so he didn't call Mara. After a month, Israel's fiancée left to go back to her home. One day, Israel remembered Mara and decided to call her. He picked up his phone and dialed her number. When Mara saw her phone ring, she was shocked. She looked at the screen and saw Israel's name. Her heart started to beat fast. She didn't expect him to call after so many weeks. Without waiting, she answered the call. Hello, Mara, Israel said in a calm and kind voice. I'm sorry I didn't call you earlier. I was out of town. Mara listened carefully. She believed what Israel said. She didn't ask any questions. She was just happy to hear his voice again. I would like us to have dinner together, Israel said. Are you free tomorrow evening? Mara smiled. She felt very excited. She didn't expect this surprise, but she quickly said yes. Israel thanked her, said some sweet words, and ended the call. After the call, Mara sat on her bed smiling. She felt so happy. She had waited for this moment for a long time, and now it was finally happening. She started to imagine what their dinner would be like. Where will we go? What will we talk about? She thought to herself. Mara didn't tell Mercy about the call. She wanted to keep it a secret, at least for now. She spent the whole evening thinking about her date with Israel. She looked at her clothes, trying to pick the perfect dress to wear. She wanted to look her best. What Mara didn't know was that Israel was not serious about her. He didn't call her because he liked her a lot. He just wanted to have fun. But Mara didn't know this. She believed that Israel liked her and wanted to be with her. For Mara, this was a chance for something special. The evening Mara had been waiting for was finally here. She was very happy and full of excitement. She picked her best dress, a lovely one that fit her perfectly. It was shiny and made her look beautiful. Mara stood in front of the mirror and smiled at herself. She wanted to look perfect for the night. Carefully, she put on her makeup and styled her hair. After everything was done, she wore her pretty shoes and felt ready. While getting dressed, Mara kept asking Mercy, do I look okay? Mercy, sitting on the bed, smiled and said, you look very beautiful. Mercy was happy for her friend, but she was also sad. Just be careful, Mara. Don't forget to stay wise. But Mara was too excited to listen. She was thinking about how fun the night would be. At exactly 7 o'clock, Mara heard a car horn outside. She quickly looked out the window and saw Israel's shining black car at the gate. Her heart started to beat fast with excitement. She grabbed her purse and walked outside, smiling brightly. Israel got out of the car and opened the door for her. He looked at Mara and said, wow, you look amazing. Mara felt shy but happy. She smiled back and said, thank you. She walked to the car, feeling like a queen. Israel's kind words made her feel special. The drive was quiet and smooth. Mara looked around the car. It smelled nice, like expensive perfume. She felt very lucky sitting next to Israel. He looked so confident, and everything about him showed he had money. Soon, they reached the restaurant. When Mara stepped out of the car, she couldn't believe her eyes. The restaurant was very beautiful. There were beautiful lights everywhere, and the tables had beautiful decorations. The waiters smiled and welcomed them. One of the waiters took them to a quiet private table where they could sit alone. Mara sat down and looked around. She felt like she was in a dream. Everything looked so fancy, and she had never been in a place like this before. She thought to herself, Israel is truly special. I am so lucky. As they sat and talked, Mara wanted to make a good impression. She laughed at Israel's jokes, shared her ideas, and spoke confidently. Israel looked happy, and Mara felt proud. They ordered different kinds of food, and Mara enjoyed every bite. The food was delicious, and she felt so happy being there with Israel. After eating, Israel leaned closer to Mara and said, I really like you, Mara. Will you be my girlfriend? Mara's eyes widened with surprise and happiness. Without thinking twice, she smiled and said, yes, I will. She felt very excited. She thought, this is the man I have been waiting for. Kind, rich, and charming. After spending a long time together, Israel said it was time to go. He paid the bill and they left the restaurant. On the way home, Mara felt like the happiest person in the world. When they reached her house, Israel stopped the car and handed her an envelope. What is this? Mara asked, curious. Just a little gift for you, Israel said with a smile. Mara opened the envelope and saw a lot of money inside. She was surprised and very happy. Thank you so much, she said, smiling brightly. When Mara entered her house, she couldn't hide her excitement. She went straight to her room and threw the envelope on the bed. The money spilled out, and Mara laughed with joy. Mercy, who was in the living room, heard her and came running. What happened? Mercy asked. Mara pointed at the money and said, I made the right choice, Mercy. Look at all this money. All for me. Mercy's eyes widened in surprise. Wow, that's a lot of money, she said. Mara picked some of the money and gave it to Mercy. Take this, it's for you, she said happily. Mercy smiled and thanked her friend. But deep inside, Mercy was still a little worried. She didn't fully trust Israel, but she didn't want to spoil Mara's happiness. That night, Mara lay on her bed thinking. She was thinking about everything that had happened. She remembered the beautiful restaurant, the delicious food, and Israel's sweet words. She smiled as she thought about the future. She believed that life would be only better if she is with Israel. And with Israel by her side, she dreamed of living a rich and happy life. Mara closed her eyes, still smiling. It was truly a night to remember, and she couldn't wait to see what the future would bring. Mara's life had changed a lot since she met Israel. She was now living the life she always dreamed of. Israel gave her everything she wanted: money, beautiful clothes, and fancy hairstyles. Mara felt special. People admired how she looked, and her friends often asked her how she became so rich so quickly. Every day, Mara thanked her stars for meeting Israel. She would tell Mercy, I'm so lucky. Israel is the best man ever. Her face would shine with happiness whenever she talked about him. Mercy, however, stayed careful. She didn't fully trust Israel, but she didn't want to spoil Mara's happiness, so she didn't say much. Many months passed, and Mara noticed something strange. Even though Israel was kind and generous, he never introduced her to his friends or family. Mara found this odd. She wanted to meet the important people in his life. One evening, she asked him, Israel, when will I meet your friends or family? Israel smiled and said, not yet. There's a right time for everything. At first, Mara believed him, but after some time, she started feeling bad. Why didn't Israel want her to meet his family? She stopped asking, afraid that Israel might get angry. One day in January, which was in a new year, Israel told Mara he wanted to travel to the village for his family matter. Mara didn't worry too much. She helped him pack his bags and wished him a safe trip. She trusted Israel completely and didn't think anything was wrong. But Israel had a secret. He wasn't just going to his village for family matters. He was going to introduce his real fiancée to his family. This fiancée had been with him for a long time, and both their families had agreed they would get married. Israel didn't plan to marry Mara. To him, she was just someone he spent time with in the city. When Israel reached his village, he found the place very busy. People were talking about something serious. The village king had died. In their tradition, when a king dies, a young woman must be sacrificed to join him in the afterlife. Many people thought he was a bad and old custom, but others still respected it. The village leaders announced that anyone who brought a young woman for the sacrifice would get a big reward. When Israel heard about the reward, he didn't care at first, but later, as he thought about the money, a dangerous idea came to his mind. He thought, what if I bring Mara here and give her to the leaders? They will give me the reward and I'll be rich. At first, Israel felt scared about the idea. He knew it was wrong to betray Mara, but the more he thought about the money, the more he wanted to do it. He imagined how rich he would become, and soon his heart was filled with greed. He told himself, "This is my chance to have a better life." Israel made a plan. He decided to call Mara and invite her to visit him in the village. He would pretend everything was fine, make her feel comfortable, and then hand her over to the village leaders. He no longer cared about Mara's feelings. He was only thinking about the money he would get. Back in the city, Mara was living her normal life. She missed Israel and couldn't wait for him to return. She spent her days wearing the beautiful clothes he had bought for her and dreaming about their future together. Mara trusted Israel so much that she never thought he could hurt her. Meanwhile, Israel was getting ready to carry out his plan. He kept telling himself, "Once I do this, I'll be very rich. This is my chance to have everything I want." Greed had taken over his heart, and he didn't care much about his love for Mara. All he wanted was to get rich and get the money. Israel came back from his village feeling many things. He was happy to see Mara again, but not for the reason she thought. His plan was ready, and he just needed the right time to make it happen. When Mara saw Israel, she was very happy. She ran to him with a big hug and smile. "I missed you so much," she said, dancing around him. Mara's heart was full of joy because she had waited for this moment for a long time. Israel smiled, but inside, he was thinking about his plan. He thought, "Mara has enjoyed my money for too long. Now it's time for me to get something back." He remembered the big reward waiting for him in the village, and it made him more eager to carry out his plan. After spending some time with Mara, Israel stood up and said, "I have to go now." Mara tried to make him stay longer, but he refused. As he walked to his car, he turned to her and said, "We will travel to my village before 10th of January." Mara was surprised at first. She stared at him to make sure she heard him right. Then, when she understood what he said, she jumped with joy. "Really? I can't believe it!" she screamed, running to him and giving him a big kiss on the cheek. She was so happy because she had always wanted to meet Israel's family. Now, she thought this was her chance to become part of his life forever. Israel drove off, smiling to himself. He felt proud because his plans was going well. In the following days, Mara couldn't stop thinking about the trip. She wanted to look very beautiful when she met Israel's family. So, she asked Israel for money to buy new clothes, shoes, and jewelry. Israel gave her everything she asked for without any problem. He didn't mind spending money on her because he knew he would soon get much more. Mara was very excited. She thought Israel's kindness meant truly he loved her. She didn't know that he was only pretending and planning something bad. Meanwhile, Israel talked to his friend Larry about his plan. He felt he needed to share it with someone, but when he told Larry what he was planning to do, Larry was shocked. "You can't do that," Larry said loudly. "That's very wrong. Mara is not a thing you can use to get money. She's a person, a human being." Israel didn't listen. He laughed and said, "You don't understand, Larry. I have spent a lot of money on her. Now it's time for me to get something back. She owes me." Larry tried to make Israel change his mind, but Israel refused. He was so focused on the reward that nothing could stop him. He had made up his mind, and he didn't care about anything else. What Israel didn't know was that Larry had met Mara before, many years ago. Now, hearing Israel's plan made Larry feel worried. He began to wonder, is this the same Mara I liked many years ago? He didn't say anything to Israel, but he couldn't stop thinking about it. As time goes closer, Mara became even more excited. She bought many new things and packed her bags. She dreamed about the fun she would have in Israel's village. She imagined meeting his family and spending a happy holiday with him. She had no idea that Israel was planning to hurt her. Israel, on the other hand, felt sure that his plan would work. He thought everything was going perfectly. Mara was ready for the trip, happy and full of hope. Israel was ready too, but for a different reason. He thought he would win this dangerous game. It was the morning of January 8th, and the cool breeze made the day feel fresh and special. Mara was very happy because this was the day she would travel with Israel to his village. She dressed in her best clothes, feeling excited. She smiled as she thought about meeting Israel's family. To her, it was a dream come true. She believed this trip would make her part of Israel's life forever. Israel, however, was thinking about something else. He looked calm and very friendly, but inside, he was planning something dangerous. He smiled at Mara, but his smile hid his bad plan. He thought, everything is going well. Soon, I will get the big reward. As they started their journey, Mara enjoyed looking out of the car window. She admired the trees, hills, and people they passed by. She imagined how warm and happy Israel's family would be when they met her. Israel talked to Mara during the drive, pretending to be happy, but his mind was thinking only about his plan. After a long drive, they finally reached Israel's village. Israel drove to a small hotel on a quiet street and parked the car. Mara looked around, wondering why they weren't going straight to his house. Israel smiled and said, "You will stay here tonight. My house is full of relatives because of big occasion. I want everything to be perfect before you meet my family." Mara believed him because she trusted him completely. She didn't know that Israel was lying to her. Israel made sure Mara was comfortable in the hotel. He ordered her favorite food and gave her some money. He told her to relax while he went to make arrangements. Mara, feeling happy and loved, didn't suspect anything. She thought everything was going as planned. Later in the evening, Israel left the hotel. He told Mara he was going to prepare his family for her visit. But instead, he went to Chief Uzondo's house. Chief Uzondo was an important man in the village. He was in charge of the king's burial. When Israel arrived at Chief Uzondo's house, he found many people gathered there. Everyone looked serious. The king had died weeks ago, and the village could not bury her until a young girl was found for the sacrifice. It was an old and cruel tradition, but many people in the village still believed in it. Chief Uzondo welcomed Israel and asked him to speak. Israel didn't waste any time. He told them he had found a girl and that she was ready. The people in the room felt relieved and happy. They had been waiting for someone to solve the problem so the burial could happen. "Are you sure everything is ready?" Chief Uzondo asked. "Yes, everything is under control," Israel replied confidently. "I will bring her at the right time." Chief Uzondo nodded. "Good. We will keep our promise. Once you bring the girl, you will get the reward." The people in the room started talking about the final plans for the burial. Israel felt proud. He thought, everything is working perfectly. Soon I will be richer. He didn't feel bad about what he was planning to do to Mara. He only cared about the money. When the meeting ended, the people thanked Israel. They believed he was helping the village. Meanwhile, back at the hotel, Mara was resting. She didn't know about Israel's secret plan. She spent the evening thinking about how wonderful the next day would be. She imagined Israel's family welcoming her warmly and the fun they would have during the celebrations. She smiled as she thought about the bright future she believed was waiting for her. As it got late, Mara became more excited. She couldn't wait for Israel to return and take her to meet his family. She trusted him completely and didn't have any idea that she was in danger. Israel left Chief Uzondo's house feeling satisfied. He believed his plan would work perfectly. He thought nothing can go wrong now. He drove back to the hotel to check on Mara, making sure she didn't suspect anything. For Israel, this was all a game. He thought he was smart and that he would win, but he didn't know that his dangerous game could lead to something he wasn't prepared for. As night went on, the village was filled with excitement. People were celebrating, dancing, and getting ready for the big event. But inside the hotel, Mara stayed unaware of the danger. She waited happily, trusting Israel. while he continued his plans to betray her. It was one evening on January 8th, and the village was full of excitement. Colorful lights decorated the streets, and the sounds of drum and people laughing filled the air. Many families were having get together to celebrate the new year. But while the village enjoyed the celebrations, Israel was thinking only about his plan. He wanted to get the big reward and didn't care about anything else. As Israel drove to the hotel where Mara was staying, his phone rang. It was Larry, his childhood friend. Larry had come to the village to enjoy the festive celebration. Unlike Israel, Larry didn't have any bad plans. He just wanted to join in the fun with everyone else. Hey Israel, I'm in the village now. Can we meet? Larry asked calmly. Israel smiled, feeling confident about how well his plan was going. Sure, let's meet at the hotel, he replied. A few minutes later, Larry arrived at the hotel and found Israel waiting outside. Israel welcomed him with a big smile. He started talking about his plan, feeling proud of himself. He told Larry how he had made Mara trust him completely and how easy it was to trick her. She thinks she's coming to meet my family for a New Year get together, Israel said, laughing. She has no idea what's really going to happen. Larry listened quietly, feeling sad and angry. He couldn't believe his friend was talking like this. Israel continued, calling Mara names and saying she only cared about money. He said she deserved what was coming to her because she was greedy. Larry took a deep breath and said, Israel, this is wrong. Mara may love money, but she's still a good person. You can't do this to her. But Israel didn't listen. He shook his head and said, You don't understand, guy. I spent so much money on her, and now it's time for me to get something back. She's owing me money. Larry felt even more upset. He remembered how he had once liked Mara. A long time ago, he tried to be her boyfriend, but she had laughed at him. She said he was just a poor banker who didn't have enough money. Her words hurt him, but Larry didn't hate her. Instead, he moved on with his life. Now, hearing Israel's plan made Larry feel worried. He couldn't stand by and let this happen. Even though Mara had rejected him in the past, he still cared about her. He knew she didn't deserve to be treated this way. Larry thought about what to do. He knew he couldn't stop Israel by arguing with him. Israel was too blinded by greed. Larry decided he needed a quiet plan to save Mara without letting Israel know. Back at the hotel, Mara was feeling restless. She had been waiting for hours. At first, she was excited about meeting Israel's family, but now she was starting to worry. She picked up her phone and called Israel. Hello, Israel. Are you coming soon? Mara asked. Israel quickly ended his conversation with Larry and said, Yes, I'm just around the corner. Don't worry, I'll be there soon. Larry watched as Israel rushed back into his car and drove off. He knew he had to act fast. Time was running out, and he couldn't let Israel carry out his plan. He left the hotel, thinking about how to save Mara before it was too late. As the night went on, the village became even livelier. People danced, sang, and enjoyed the New Year celebration, also waiting for the king's burial. Mara stayed in her hotel room, waiting for Israel. She was still thinking about how wonderful it would be to meet his family. She didn't know that her life was in danger and that someone was secretly trying to save her. Israel believed everything was under his control. He was sure that nothing could go wrong, but Larry had made up his mind to stop him no matter what. While the village enjoyed the lights and laughter, a dangerous game was unfolding. Mara's life depended on who would act first. Israel with his cruel plan or Larry with his quiet bravery. Mara smiled as she imagined the big family gathering Israel had promised. She thought she would soon be part of his family. But outside, in the busy streets of the village, Larry was getting ready to fight a silent battle to save her. He knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready and determined to do whatever it took to protect her. It was the morning of the king's burial, and the village was alive with excitement. The streets were decorated with colorful clothes, and people were busy cooking and getting ready for the big event. Music filled the air, and children ran around happily. Mara woke up feeling excited. She wore her finest clothes and smiled at herself in the mirror. She thought today would be the best day of my life. I will meet Israel's family and they will love me. Israel arrived at the hotel to pick up Mara. He smiled warmly at her, but inside he was nervous. His plan was almost complete, and he didn't want anything to go wrong. As they drove to the palace, Israel kept thinking about the reward he would get after the burial. He didn't care about Mara's feelings anymore. All he cared about was becoming rich. When they reached the palace, Mara was amazed. The tall gates, the big houses, and the fancy clothes worn by the people made her feel important. She walked beside Israel, feeling proud. She believed she would become a part of a powerful family. At the palace, Chief Uzondo and other important people were waiting. They smiled at Israel and Mara as they arrived. Everything was being prepared for the burial that night. Unknown to Israel, Larry had also come to the palace. He was there to watch the preparations and find a way to rescue Mara. Larry knew he couldn't talk to Israel or let him see him. He stayed hidden, carefully watching everything. He knew Israel's plans and was determined to stop it. But he also knew it would be dangerous, so he had to be smart. Mara sat down in the palace, enjoying the view. She felt happy, thinking everyone was admiring her. But after a while, she started feeling restless. She decided to go to the restroom. A kind servant showed her the way, and she walked down a quiet hallway. As she was walking back, she heard voices coming around the corner. She stopped when she recognized Israel's voice. Curious, she moved closer to listen. What she heard made her heart pound in fear. Israel was talking to Chief Uzondo. He was telling him that everything was ready for the ritual that night. He explained how he had brought Mara, and she didn't suspect anything. He laughed as he said, "She trusts me completely. This will be easy." Mara's body froze. She couldn't believe what she was hearing. Israel brought me here for a ritual, she thought, her heart racing. Fear gripped her, and she didn't know what to do. She felt tears welling up in her eyes, but she quickly wiped them away. "I can't cry now. I have to find a way to escape." She carefully walked back to the seat, pretending nothing was wrong. Her mind was spinning with fear and confusion. She couldn't believe that the man she loved and trusted was planning to harm her. She felt trapped. She didn't know anyone in the village, and running away seemed impossible. Meanwhile, Larry continued to watch from a distance. He saw Mara's pale face and knew she had overheard something. He felt sorry for her and knew he had to act fast. He quietly moved closer to her, making sure Israel didn't see him. When Mara noticed Larry nearby, she felt a glimmer of hope. She remembered how she had treated him in the past. But now, he was the only person who could help her. Larry gave her a small nod, silently telling her to stay calm. He didn't want to attract attention. The hours passed slowly. The sun began to set, and the palace became busier. People were getting ready for the burial, which would happen at night. Israel stayed close to Chief Uzondo, making sure everything was going as planned. He didn't notice Larry quietly moving through the crowd. Larry had a plan. He knew there was a back gate in the palace that wasn't guarded. He waited for the right moment. When he saw Mara standing alone for a brief moment, he quickly walked up to her and whispered, "Follow me quietly." Mara didn't hesitate. She trusted Larry now more than ever. She followed him as he led her through the crowd. They moved carefully, making sure no one noticed them. Larry led her to the back gate and opened it. They slipped out quietly, disappearing into the night. Once they were outside the palace, Larry whispered, "We have to keep moving. Israel must not find us." Mara nodded, too scared to speak. They walked quickly, taking small paths that led away from the center of the village. Larry knew the village well and avoided places where people might see them. After walking for some time, they reached a small house at the edge of the village. Larry knocked on the door, and an old woman opened it. She was Larry's auntie. He quickly explained what was happening, and the woman welcomed them inside. "You can stay here until morning," she said kindly. Mara sat down, still shaking from fear. She looked at Larry and said, "Thank you. I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't helped me." Larry smiled gently. "I couldn't let Israel harm you, no matter what happened in the past. You don't deserve this." Meanwhile, back at the palace, Israel was getting ready for the ritual. He looked around and noticed Mara was missing. His heart skipped a beat. He searched everywhere but couldn't find her. Panic set in as he realized his plan had failed. Chief Uzondo was furious when he found out. "You promised to bring the girl. Where is she?" he demanded. Israel stammered. I don't know. She was here a moment ago." The royal family was disappointed, and the burial was postponed. Israel's greed had led him to lose everything. He had failed, and now he had to face the shame of his actions. That night, while the village wondered what had happened, Mara stayed safely in Larry's aunt's house. She was grateful to be alive. She realized that trusting the wrong person had almost cost her everything. But she also learned that sometimes help can come from the most unexpected places. The next morning, Larry helped Mara leave the village quietly. She felt tired and scared, but more than anything, she felt grateful to be alive. She couldn't stop thinking about everything that had happened, the danger she had faced, and the betrayal by someone she trusted deeply. When Mara reached her home, Mercy was the first person she saw. Mercy rushed to her, worried. "Mara, are you okay? You look so different. What happened?" Mara sat down quietly, still shaken by the event. She took a deep breath and told Mercy everything, from how Israel had taken her to the village and how Larry had saved her at the last moment. Tears filled her eyes as she spoke, and Mercy listened carefully, her face filled with both shock and relief. After Mara finished her story, Mercy held her hand gently. "I warned you, Mara. I told you to be careful and not rush after money. But I'm glad you are back safely. You're lucky Larry was there to help you." Mara nodded slowly. "You were right, Mercy. I didn't listen because I was too blinded by wealth. I thought Israel cared so much about me, but I was wrong. I almost lost my life because of my foolishness." She wiped her tears and continued, "This has taught me an important lesson. Money is good, but it's not everything. I won't let greed control me anymore. I will work hard, stay focused, and trust only people who truly care about me." Mercy smiled and hugged her. "That's the right way, Mara. I'm proud of you for learning from this." As the days went by, Mara began to rebuild her life. She no longer cared about chasing after rich men or living a flashy life. Instead, she focused on finding real happiness and being around true friends like Mercy. Though she would never forget the terrifying experience in the village, she promised herself to be wiser in the future. Mara's unforgettable New Year had taught her that life is not about riches alone. It's about trust, kindness, and making the right choices. And with that lesson in mind, she moved forward, ready to live a better, wiser life. The most important lesson in this story is that in life, not all that glitters is gold. Chasing wealth blindly can lead to danger, but true friends and good character will always save you. Be careful who you trust and never value money more than your life. Learn to listen to those who care about you because sometimes their advice can save you from great harm. And with that, my dear friends, our story comes to a close. But remember, the magic of storytelling lives on, waiting to whisk us away on new adventures where the wonders of imagination know no bounds. Goodbye for now, and may your dreams be filled with joy, wonder, and endless possibility. Thank you so much for watching. Please kindly comment, like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more interesting stories.